The day Ethan first saw Max, the tiny golden puppy sneezed on his nose. And right then, they both knew. This was the beginning of forever. Max was no bigger than Ethan's school bag. His paws were too big for his body. His ears flopped like melting butter. And Ethan laughed, the kind of laugh that fills a whole house. That first night, Max cried in his little bed. So Ethan crept downstairs, lay on the cold floor beside him, and whispered, "You're not alone. I'm here." Dogs don't choose their owners. But somehow, Max had chosen Ethan. And Ethan had chosen Max. Some friendships are not accidents. They are destiny. Max's first morning in the house, he chewed Ethan's left shoe, knocked over the cereal bowl, and sat looking innocent. Ethan didn't even get angry. How could you be angry at that face? Every evening, Ethan would sit at the kitchen table doing homework. And Max would put his head on Ethan's feet. Not to play. Not to ask for anything. Just to be close. The first time Max heard thunder, he shook like a leaf. Ethan wrapped him in his own blanket and held him until the storm passed. "I'll always protect you," he promised. In a world full of people who say one thing and do another, Max never lied. He greeted Ethan with the same joy every single day. Rain or shine. Good day or bad. Max had one trick he never forgot. When Ethan cried, Max would bring him a sock. Not a toy. Not a treat. A sock. As if to say, "Here. Something of yours. Feel better." Ethan's mother once said, "That dog knows things." And she wasn't wrong. Max would sense sadness before a single tear fell. He always arrived at the right moment. They had a secret language. 3 tail wags meant "I love you." A paw on the knee meant "I'm here." And a long gaze into Ethan's eyes meant, "You are my whole world." Ethan taught Max to sit, stay, and shake. But Max taught Ethan something bigger: how to be patient. How to be present. How to love without conditions. The history of dogs and humans goes back 15,000 years. 15,000 years of loyalty. And Max, he carried every single one of those years in his golden eyes. Scientists say dogs were the first animals to walk beside humans. Not cattle. Not horses. Dogs. Because even at the beginning, humans needed someone to walk next to them. And so, in a small house on a quiet street, a boy and his dog began their story. Neither of them knowing how deep it would go. Or how much it would mean. Summer days meant one thing: Ethan and Max in the backyard. The sprinkler on. The sun blazing. And Max running in circles like the happiest creature on earth. As Ethan grew taller, so did Max's devotion. With every birthday candle blown, their bond grew stronger. Some things in life keep growing. Love is one of them. Ethan started school that year. Every morning, Max would sit at the window, watching the yellow bus until it disappeared. And every afternoon, he'd be right there, waiting. On the days Ethan came home crying, Max didn't ask why. He just pressed his warm body against Ethan's legs and stayed. Sometimes that is enough. Just staying. Dogs can smell human emotions. Cortisol, adrenaline, sadness, they sense it all. Max didn't just see Ethan's pain. He felt it. And he chose, every time, to face it together. Their favorite thing, walking to the old oak tree at the end of the road. Max would sniff every root. Ethan would carve their initials in the bark. E+M, forever. On rainy days, they'd curl up on the couch with old cartoons playing. Max's fur smelled like comfort. Like safety. Like everything good in the world wrapped into one creature. Max learned to open the fridge door. Not to steal food, just to check if Ethan's sandwich was ready. Ethan laughed every time. Some things never stopped being funny. People talk about loyalty like it's rare. But Max showed it every single day, without being asked, without reward, without reason. That is the true heart of a dog. Ethan once got lost in the woods behind the house. He panicked. But Max sat calmly, sniffed the air, and led him home. No hesitation. No fear. Just purpose. Every night, before sleep, Ethan would scratch behind Max's ears and say, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." Max would close his eyes and smile, in the way only dogs can. Max was afraid of exactly three things: fireworks, the vacuum cleaner, and being away from Ethan. Of those three, only one truly broke his heart. There is a word in Japanese, amiru. It means to depend on someone's love, to lean into it without fear. Every time Max rested his chin on Ethan's lap, that was amiru. The years passed the way good years always do, too quickly. Ethan grew. Max grew. And their world, small and golden, felt like the safest place in the universe. Max's fur turned a little lighter each year. His steps grew a little slower. But his eyes, those warm amber eyes, never changed. They always held the same love. A dog's lifespan is short. Too short. But researchers say dogs don't measure time in years, they measure it in moments. And Ethan gave Max a lifetime of moments. Some nights, Ethan would lie in the grass and count stars. Max would lie beside him, not looking up, looking at Ethan. Because for Max, Ethan was the only star worth watching. Max began to slow down that spring. Ethan noticed. He didn't say anything, just started taking slower walks. Shorter paths. More stopping. More sitting. More being together. Every love story has a turning point. A moment when you realize nothing lasts forever. And you hold on tighter. Not to stop the ending, but to make the middle count more. The vet spoke gently. Used soft words. But Ethan understood. Max was getting older. His heart was working harder. And time, that thief, was taking pieces of him away. That night, Ethan didn't do homework. He sat on the floor with Max's head in his lap, running his fingers through golden fur, memorizing every curl, every warmth. How do you prepare to lose someone who has never once hurt you? Who has only ever loved you? You don't. You just love them harder in the time you have left. Ethan started a journal. Things Max loves. Long walks. Ear scratches. The smell of pancakes. Sleeping at the foot of the bed. Me. That last one, Ethan underlined 3 times. The history books say dogs were buried beside their owners in ancient times, because humans believed their dogs would guide them in the afterlife. Ethan understood that. Completely. There were days Max didn't eat much. Days he walked slowly to his water bowl. And on those days, Ethan would sit beside him on the kitchen floor and eat his own meals there. Together. Ethan's mother asked if he wanted to talk. He shook his head. Some pain is too large for words. Some grief needs to be lived through, not explained. Dogs have served as soldiers, guides, rescuers, and healers throughout human history. But in homes like Ethan's, they served a quieter, deeper purpose. They taught humans how to love. One morning, Max didn't come to Ethan's door as usual. Ethan ran downstairs, heart pounding, and found Max asleep in the sunshine, just tired. Ethan knelt beside him and breathed again. Ethan whispered, "Don't go yet." And Max opened his eyes slowly, wagged his tail once, just once, as if to say, "I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here." They spent that whole weekend together. No screens. No errands. Just Ethan and Max, walking the old paths, sitting under the oak tree, being exactly who they had always been. Ethan held Max's paw the whole night before the last visit. "I don't want to do this," he said. Max licked his hand, as if to say, "You have to. And I forgive you already." The hardest thing about loving an animal is that they trust you completely. Even at the very end. Especially at the very end. Max's eyes never left Ethan's face. And then it was quiet. And the world was smaller. And Ethan, brave, tender, heartbroken Ethan, said goodbye to the best friend he would ever have. The house felt enormous after Max was gone. Every corner held a memory. The food bowl. The leash by the door. The indent on the couch where he always slept. Ethan kept Max's red collar on his bedside table. Not because it was sad, but because it was proof. Proof that something beautiful had existed. And love like that never truly ends. Some days Ethan would open the back door, and for 1 second, expect to see Golden Fur bounding toward him. That 1 second, both the best and hardest moment of every day. Ethan planted a sunflower in the garden where Max used to nap. Golden petals. Warm face toward the sun. Every morning it bloomed, it felt like a hello from far away. In ancient Rome, a gravestone was found with the words, "To Helena, my dog, who was my joy." Dogs have been mourned for thousands of years. Because they deserve to be. Grief is just love with nowhere to go. So Ethan wrote letters to Max, silly things. Big things. He told Max about school. About the oak tree. About the sock trick he still laughed about. One day, a small dog at the shelter pressed its nose to the cage, and looked at Ethan with familiar eyes. Not Max's eyes. But the same language. The same unspoken promise. Ethan wasn't ready. He told the shelter worker, "Not yet." She nodded. "He'll wait," she said. And somehow, Ethan believed her. A researcher once said, dogs don't just adapt to human life. They adopt human emotions. They feel our loneliness. They carry our grief. And in carrying it, they help us heal. Ethan began volunteering at the shelter on weekends. Walking dogs. Feeding them. Sitting with the ones who were scared. It was the closest thing to having Max back, and it helped. The sunflower grew tall that summer. Taller than Ethan expected. He laughed one afternoon looking at it, a real laugh. The kind he hadn't managed in months. Max would have liked that. 3 months later, Ethan went back to the shelter. The small dog was still there. Still waiting. It walked up to Ethan, and placed one paw on his shoe. Just one. As if to say, "Here I am." Ethan named him Buddy. Not because it was Max's name, but because Max had taught him something, that every dog deserves a person who sees them completely. Buddy had found his. On Buddy's first night home, he cried in his little bed. And Ethan, without hesitating, crept downstairs, lay on the cold floor beside him, and whispered, "You're not alone. I'm here." Max had taught Ethan to love. And now that love, bigger and deeper than before, was flowing forward. Into Buddy. Into every dog Ethan would ever know. Love doesn't end. It continues. 15,000 years ago, a wolf first stepped toward a human fire. And something began. A relationship unlike any other on Earth. Built on trust. On warmth. On choice. Dogs do not live long enough. That is their one flaw. But perhaps, that is also their gift. They remind us that love is not measured in years. It is measured in presence. Ethan grew up. Moved to a new city. Became a vet. And on his desk, always, a photo of a golden dog with warm amber eyes and a red collar. Max. The one who started it all. Every dog who has ever loved a human is still out there. Somewhere in the love that human carries forward. Max was in Buddy. He was in every dog Ethan ever healed. He never left. If you have ever loved a dog, you already know. You already understand what this story is really about. It's not about a boy and his dog. It's about what love truly looks like. And it looks like Max.